Hey there, Sam with you here on, what are we, Tuesday, May 1st, kind of mid-morning here, and again, per the polling that we do amongst our members, the next up for video analysis here is ADA, Cardano to Bitcoin. Now, I've got an 8-hour chart up here of Cardano to Bitcoin on Bittrex. And I've got a little bit of work on this, so we can get the whole history of it here. So you can see all I've done is just wick off some of these significant pivots, and interestingly, we came right between those two for our pivot low here. And I've shown this before. As you know, the premise here is, as you see a wave count coming off of that low, is that we have a good technical pivot. So just a brief bit of review here. Let me scrunch that up so it's not in our way. So you can see here this has been very technical. So we take our first swing down to our low. Here's our 50 front target hit, but from there you'd go again. So if I do it, let me see it, I'll do it this way. So if I take this pivot here, as this was our retracement pivot, and I go again to my next low. So I'm going to take this one off so you can see it a little bit better. So here was my retracement. Here's my low. Here's my 50. You can see here's the front run reaction on the first target, but ultimately we get the second target to the tick. So the premise here is that not only am I hitting support, the structural support of this prior resistance offering that support, but I've got a perfect algo tick, to the tick target, getting their second fill. So algos are making money. Well, now we're going back the other way. Well, so you can see I've got a wave count on this, and we can see a pretty clear 5-wave structure. So part of the question is, why do we pivot right here? Why do we stop here? We don't know that necessarily that this is our top. Looks like that top's going to be challenged. But first question is, why do we run into some resistance there? Well, as I will often show you, excuse me, you have to consider the resistance going back the other direction. So you might look at that and go, well, swing low to swing high. No, we're not even close to the 50, but I got to check these other pivots. So I might go here and think, okay, front run on the 50, maybe that's what we're running into. I had some other swing pivots here that were important, so I'm going to go check each one of these. Well, here, this one here doing it, front run on the 618, maybe. We know this was technical. That was a retracement that got us to the tick, so I pull that. And what do we get? Right into the golden zone. So that same pivot that gave us the perfect technical hit down here of the second algo target sets us up swing high to swing low. We go right into the golden zone, and that's where we run into resistance. So my point being, you've got to be aware. You can't ignore the resistance when you're heading back up, particularly in a swing like this, because now we are still within an internal retracement of that entire move. Right, so swing low to swing high, we stay internal. Swing high to swing low, we're still internal. Now, are we going up to can we blow through this golden zone here? It certainly looks like it's going to be challenged, but then you have to do the same process. You have to keep going back, anticipating where you're going to run into that resistance, and then we use that in conjunction with the wave relationships and those Fibonacci tendencies where we can work with probabilities for areas where the interwave relationships tend to create confluence zones. So recognizing that we've got all that resistance to get through on the way back up. Now let's go over here to the hard right edge of the market. I'm going to go down to a smaller time frame. So I'll go to the 3-hour and we'll blow this up. Sorry, excuse me. And what we'll try and do here is get some sense of whether or not we have a completed top here. Now, as I've just shown you, we ran into a golden zone retracement there. But we can look at this and say, okay, well, pretty clear evidence here that we've got not only a motive wave, but an impulsive wave structure coming off of that technical pivot down here. So we get our 1, 2, great subdivision in our third. I got a nice 3-wave ABC into my fourth. Up we go for the 5. It just could not be any prettier. Technically, and right, if you're an Elliott wave trader, that's as good as it gets. Well, we can do a couple of things. So we can try to identify whether or not that's a technical pivot. So we can, as we would with any wave 3, we're going to look for the relationship there. So you can see, well, right where you'd expect it, right? Swing 2 low to 3 high. We're expecting the 38. We get a slight front run on it, just shy of the Vegas wave, and then we get our big rip. And we're to and through the algo target. Well, we can also consider anything additionally. Can we develop some more confluence there so we can use our alternate tool And we can take the length of wave 1, projected from my wave 4 low, and we can see we've just shy of the 1618, which would be an extreme for the 5th relative to the 1st. But I can do the same thing. I can look at 1 through 3. There's the 618. You know, 2 projected from the 4. I mean, it's not perfect. So then it becomes a question of, well, if I'm not at an absolute perfect technical pivot here relative to the wave structure, maybe I've got to look in now here. I've got to dig in more deeply into this 5th wave to see if I have the subdivision that I would anticipate to tell me whether or not I've got a contender here for a pivot low for my 5 high. Because if that's my 5 high, and I'm working from the swing low, well, now I'm looking for a retracement of the entire move, and I'm looking for the next opportunity to be a buyer is down here between the 50 and the 618. That's my high probability zone for my wave 2. So putting that in context, so from swing low, if that's a 1, I'm looking for my 2 here, and then we go 3, 4, 5 up on a larger degree. So if I bump that up, we'll go to minuet. That's what we're trying to get involved in. So potentially I've got an A wave going in, maybe a B here. That looks to me like I'm going to need a pretty good kick in that C wave if I'm going to get down there. So when you look at it like that, you know, you have to rethink. So maybe what we just have here is an ABC before we go into a in other words, we have not completed the A wave. So it could set up like this. So if we get an ABC there, then if I take this to a larger degree, so then potentially we'd have A, B, C, something like that. So this has to move over now a tad. So if we'd be lining up that way, so then if I put the wave on that, you get what I'm after here. So this may just be the ABC going in of our A wave, B wave, and then we get one more kick down here. That seems to me like a path that could get us that low. If this is an ABC, then you know maybe I have to rethink this. Maybe we're just putting in a retracement here relative to a push to get to new highs here, and the 1 wave is higher. Right? We can't be sure yet, but what we can do is we can use our knowledge of what we can anticipate in that 5th wave and see if we can get any help there. So I'm going to take that off. So let's go down to the 30-minute here. So we've got everything identified for a reasonable count. I guess I'll take that. It gets a little squirrely when we get down to the lower time frames. Okay, so here's my wave 4 low. All right, so I can look at this. Well, this is interesting right off the bat. I can see that's a contender now for a 3, 4, 5. Do I have a decent 1, 2? Well, this is ugly here. I'm inclined to start it there. So what I see is this. So if I work from that pivot, I see potentially now I've got a 1, 2. Here's my 3, my 4. There goes my 5. So if I take that, excuse me, I'll go down to a smaller time frame so it kind of fits in the structure of the count that I have labeled. So would that make sense here? So let's consider this. So I've certainly got all of the ingredients here. I have a shallow 2 wave, albeit I have a shallow, but I get a little ABC in that. So if I work from that 2 low here and I go up to my 3 high, what do we do? All right, so here's just what you'd anticipate. So here's right in the sweet spot for where we anticipate the 4, particularly in a strong move. Between the 23.6 and the 38, just splits the difference. Absolutely perfect technical pivot for a 4. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Up we go for the 5. We've got a wick through the algo target, but it looks like we came back and tapped it twice before we rolled over. Now, what do we have coming down? That would appear to me that I've got a completed A wave. Now, is the B going in? Maybe. Maybe this is the ABC of the B. So let's pull this off and look at this. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit more over here and look at what we've got here. So this certainly looks like we've got a contender here for an ABC of this degree. So if I label it here, so this would be A, B, C, so we'd have A wave here. Potentially now that's my B wave, and I've got a C wave going in that would complete, possibly, right? We don't, unsure just yet. Let's go up to a higher degree on that. So we got to get that to minuet. So potentially now, so let's check some of the technicals, see any of the pivots significant to us. I'm going to take the wave off of that. We don't need that now. Okay, so potentially now I've got an ABC, I've got a contender here as we go right to the 50. We know B wave, 50 to the 786. So I get a 3. This may be my B here. So I've got an A, B, C into my B. Right? We just essentially double top here. And then it would appear that I've got now a 1, 2, 3. Looks like I've got an A, B, C here coming down again. Let's see what can we use to help us try and identify that. Anything with the pitchfork that's going to be helpful to me? Well, that's kind of gets my attention here. We come just a few ticks shy of the median line, and I'm absolutely not sure I've got that spot on. So let's get that dialed in. There we go. So so there we can see just beautiful market geometry. So I guess we can take that off for the time being, that third. So if we look here, now we've constructed there a perfectly technical pivot here. So here's the corner pocket trade, right? 80% probability of getting to the median line. We actually get it early, right? We get it here, right? With two, there's the algo target. Note here. So do you see this from this 50 here to the algo target, right? Boom, reaction. So do we get another one? Well, if I go from my absolute high here, ooh. Let's see here, am I right on it? Looks like it goes through the 65 by a tick, but note what happens here. So if I take this one off, okay, you see what I get here? A, B, looks like I go down. Here's my swing, gets a tick through it, but then ultimately we come down here and we get not only our algo target, but we come and make a point. It looks like it makes a point of, oh, no, not before I tap the median line am I going to give you that reaction. So very interesting. So it looks to me like we've got a contender here. So we got one or two things, right? So either we have the one wave is in, and we're now putting in our correction. So this gets a little trickier here. So we'd have to look at that and evaluate. So if I'm coming from my absolute high here, I'm coming up to challenge the 786 yet again. Let's get this moved over, even though it doesn't really matter. So if that's 1, and I've just put in the A wave here, perfectly, it's just amazing sometimes how perfectly technical it is. Now look, we've got 2 wicks through the 6.5, implying the strength. So it's not without possibility here that we've just put in. So if I take from my absolute low here, from my wave 4 low, and I go to my high, right? So putting it all together, what do we get? Right? Do you see how perfectly technical that is? That is absolutely the crescendo of everything that I'm trying to teach you here. So we've got just a straight swing low, swing high to a 50 perfect algo hit, right? And we see the reaction coming off of it. But we've also got swing high, swing low to the golden zone, perfect algo target hit. In addition, if we look at the market geometry, we've got a perfect tap of the median line. I mean, guys, you know, if you've got a better way to approach the market, I'd like to see it. I really would. I don't know anything that is as accurate as this approach to the market. There is just nothing like that. This is how the market moves, right? I mean, I've got what, 350 or more videos on here demonstrating exactly this same concept in market after market after market. If you need more proof, watch some more videos. I don't know what else to offer to you. I mean, that is just as perfect an example as I can give you. And I'm sitting here on a 30-minute chart in 88. It doesn't matter. As I've said hundreds of times, it does not matter whether I'm looking at Cardano, the euro, gold, silver, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook. It doesn't matter. The markets move exactly the same way. You find that, you take that trade. There is absolutely no reason that I could find to not take that trade. That is just as perfect as it gets. All right, I don't want to digress too far on that. Right? I think the chart speaks for itself. Okay, so where are we? Right, that's what we care about. Where are we now? Well, could this be? We've got an ABC going in here. Certainly possible. That move there certainly looks impulsive. So it's possible that we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, that we're going in for some sort of a, remember, if we just strip the Elliott off of it and we just look swing low, swing high, I've got a perfect front run at the 50 with a target up here. Now, could that B get that high? Yeah, it's possible. We could go up there and that still be a B wave, but that's reducing probability. We'd have a very unusual expanded flat. That would be You know, 138 is about as far as you allow those to go for a B wave, but it's possible. It's possible. Otherwise, the expectation would be there's one more push down here, because just because we hit the 50 here, it doesn't guarantee that we get there. I mean, the reaction is what you're looking for. That's my point, is that we get this reaction here. But does that mean that we get there? Well, no, certainly it's not. I mean, anything's happened, but that certainly is there. So we can't ignore it and say, oh, well, it must be an A and then the B's going in. We must be going lower. Now, note, if we do go lower and we come down here, we're coming to the 618. Well, you know, the target doesn't move. Right, still right there, right? So we don't know for sure. So we're really kind of it's a bit of a wait and see. Do I have a 5-wave structure going here, or do I have an ABC going in here? Well, we aren't going to know until we see how this resolves. Do we roll over here at a common zone for a B wave, 61875, right? As I just showed you, if I take that swing high to swing low, we could certainly pivot here at the 786. And we'd have a double top up here. So thinking about what your choices are here, I certainly wouldn't be a buyer there. Right? There's way too much risk and it's too little reward. So then you have to think, well, okay, well, if I'm not a buyer, am I a seller there? Well, there's nothing wrong with being a seller there, other than you have to defer to the longer time frame. There's the trade. So you're trying to pick the pivot turn for the B wave just because we're up here approaching the 786. We go down to the oscillators. Not really divergence yet, because we actually have a slightly higher high in the price. Yeah, I mean, it's there, but we don't know where this bar is going to resolve. So it's a contender for some. We certainly have it here. So if I draw it this way, if we look from here to here, so it's there. There is a slight divergence.
Stop.
Now, are we going to roll over and head back down to this target? Well, that certainly would be a pattern that would make sense. Certainly possible. A, B, C, because we're trying to quantify this whole thing. Let's go back out and think where we are. Let's go back out to our 3-hour and think about what we're trying to get to. Remember, we're trying to figure out how could we get this. I got to get this realigned here. How could we get, if this is, we're trying to identify whether we've got a completed one wave here, and if we're going to come back down, how do we get to a 50? Well, a lot of things have to happen for that to be the case. So if I strip this bare again and we think about where we're trying to get, if this is a one wave and my two wave, right, as we drew it, I'll do it again just so you see it. So if I pull up here, if that's complete, we know my two wave target is down here. How am I going to get there? Right, so it remains to be seen. It's if that's a pivot high, it's hurry up and wait to see if we can get technical down here and we can come down and put in a two wave here. We've got a nice little pocket here. We got some low volume area here. It's really set up nicely, but nothing says that this couldn't just keep going. Right, so this may not be the one high. Could be over here. This could just be a 3 going in here. We look now, we come at this larger time frame. Do we have divergence? We do not. So this pivot here is higher than here. So if that's going to play as a 3, 4, 5, you know, it's not ideal because we've got, this is a stronger move. So then we have to rethink that. Well, if it's not that, what could it be? What else could it be? Well, we could have an extension in the 5th, because this is also perfectly technical. That you'd have to look at that and say, okay, well, if that's 3, 4 and we're going up yet again, then I've got a contender here for an extension in the 5th. All right, here's an algo target up here, so let me pull this off. Nothing says that we must have pivoted there. So this, I mean, it's there. So you do. So what is there potentially is a two wave. So this would be a pretty substantial extension. So let's look at that. So if I take this part off, and we've had this ABC. So we've got pretty solid evidence here to support a 5-wave structure. So let's assume for a second that we're going higher yet again. So if I take this from my swing low here to my swing high, right? That's it. I think we were actually using this pivot here as the 4. So here's the front run on the 50. Here's the target. Well, could that make sense? That's just the straight algo play. Here's the 50. Here's the target. So could that be 1, 2? Well, that would imply to me that this has got way more to go. So this could be going higher. So let's play that out. If this is 1, take this. If that's a 1 and that's a 2, well, we know 3, 4, 5 could be going much higher. So I gotta scrunch this down a little bit. So if that's 2, so here's a contender for the 3, 4, 5. So all of this potentially now moving all the way up here. All of that goes up here. So there's a roadmap to get there. Now, does that make sense? Could we get there? If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, could the 5th go that far? Let's see if I can put it into context. Well, how would that relate? If this is a 1, 2, I've got a 3, 4, and we're going to get that extension up here. How would that relate? Well, again, same thing. I could just measure this, project it from the 4. Well, here's the 2618. Let's scrunch that up. Here's the 2618 right next to the algo target, the second algo target. Not unreasonable. 1, 2, project the length of my 1, projected from my 4. Could I go that high? I could, sure. Sure, nothing says I couldn't. So that would all kind of reorient all of this. So you might see something like that. That would get us to the 1618. So all of this potentially comes down. All of this is now much, much higher. So where's the 2 wave? Well, it's going to be over here somewhere relative to, if we kick this whole thing all the way up here and we get an extension in the 5th, well, then this 2 is going to be over here. Then the whole orientation gets reworked. So how do we know? What are we waiting for? How do we, that's all nice. If you're long off of this, I wouldn't be counting on that, but it's certainly a possibility that you get an extension in the 5th. Certainly possible. I'd want it, so, again, here you note, so if I go off this, little structural support potentially there as part of that pivot. Is that the 2? It certainly could be. Well, how are you going to know? Well, first thing we have to see what happens is, do we get beyond the 786? Are we challenging this high? Are we getting to this algo target from that 50? Do we get the algo target? Well, then that adds credibility. If we get this, well, then we know the 5 is not in. We got to, at the very least, put the 1 over here. So, something has changed here. So that if that's 1, given the depth, now, given the depth and that we have the potential for that 5 wave to complete it, that would suggest a 2, given the 50, meaning the 1 could, again, all be much higher. So it's not a buy-in here. It's a wait and see. There is, if you didn't buy this 50, which would have been, just that would have been Elliott aside. You're just playing the algo. The buy at the 50 with that as your target. If you didn't buy that, well, certainly I wouldn't be a buyer here. I'd want to wait and see what kind of resolution do we get coming out of this. Do we roll back over? Are we putting in a B wave here? Or is this just the 2 and then we're going into the 3rd? The 3rd will be clearly the most evident, as that will need to be our strongest wave. So if that's 1, 2, then we're looking for a minimum up here of 100% of it. So let's mark that. So if I take this length of my 1 projected from my 2, well, I've got to at least get up to the 100% here. So I've got this target here as a contender for my potential for my 3rd, just to even qualify as my 3rd. All right, all this moves over. So 3, 4, 1, 2, potentially 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going up much higher. All of this moves over that 1. Let's put that in green and go up a degree or 2 so we can keep track of it. We can go there. Okay, so potentially now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, completing an extension in the 5th for my 1 wave. Very bullish scenario, very. But before that happens, but to even get a sense of whether or not that's in play, we've got to see what happens here. Do we take out this high? Can we get to 100% the length of the 1 to play that as a 1, 2? So a lot of variables here, but there will be tells. Right now, it's a wait and see. You got to sit on your hands here. There's just, if you didn't take that 50, there is no trade there now. So you wait and see. What's next? The market will show you what's next. There will be tells, and that's all we're going to get is tendencies, tells, Fibonacci relationships between those wave structures. The other thing that we, of course, want to do here is put a pitchfork on it. So if I take the length of the 1, I go down to my 2. So note here, now I've got the modified shift on. So we come up 50%, over 50%, swing low, swing high. Here's my 2. That's my absolute low. So here's the golden corner. Or pardon me. Yes, I think it is actually a golden. Let me see. Let's grab this. If this is my low here, gets just barely through it. Okay, so we get just on the other side of it. So not a perfect golden corner pocket, but a corner pocket nonetheless. So high probability, if that holds, that we get to the median line. And note, we do get it right here as we hit the algo target. Now, upper barrier, upper parallel, we get to the 1.5, back to the median line. Blasting off, back to the lower parallel, or pardon me, the upper parallel here. So the 50 and the 100%, interestingly, coincide right there. Good geometry. So now I'd have to, if I highlight this, this is where I think I had the 3 in. Does that get me? Yeah. All right. So here's so clearly this is the geometry that's holding this market together, at least at this point. So we see all of this interaction with the median line, reaction, move away, back to the median line, upper, that's 300%. Right, 300% from the median line. Here's the 100. 200 is not highlighted. Here's the 300. So can we go up and get through that, get to this third target? Again, remains to be seen. But very interesting technically. Right, so we will know, just this roll over, head back down here, give us an opportunity to be a buyer. Are we going up here to put an extension in the 5th? Next opportunity would be trading the 4 to the 5. Sometimes the best trade is no trade. Just let the market show you its hand. There are always tells. All right, guys, I'll wrap it there.